Coronavirus cases rise to 493 in Nigeria as NCDC records 51 new confirmed cases across the country. Nigerians urged to keep faith in fight against coronavirus, even as infection is not a death sentence.
This is a war with a vicious enemy, and our goal is to ultimately flatten the curve.
Plus, Nigeria to commence production of less expensive and easy diagnosis rapid test kits for COVID-19.
We are very happy that SHESCO can contribute a laboratory that will help in testing the SARS-CoV-2.
Good morning and welcome to the News at 10 this Saturday morning on NTA News 24. We are reaching you live from Abuja. I'm Dennis Adegbunoye. Many thanks for joining us. We'll begin on a somber note as the presidency regrets to announce the passing on of the Chief of Staff to the President, Malam Abba Kyari. A press release from the office of the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, says the Chief of Staff had tested positive for the coronavirus and had been receiving treatment, but he died on Friday, 17th of April 2020. Funeral arrangements will be announced shortly. In a Twitter message, Foreign Affairs Minister Geoffrey Onyema expressed shock and deep sorrow at the passing of the Chief of Staff, whom he described as a best friend and a brother. And Malam Abba Kyari's body has since arrived Abuja in preparation for burial. Meanwhile, the All Progressives Congress mourns the death of Malam Abba Kyari, Chief of Staff, and one of the closest advisors to President Muhammadu Buhari. The party, in a statement by its National Publicity Secretary, Lanre Issa Onilu, says, even in death, the fond memories and indelible strides Malam Abba Kyari left on earth will be celebrated for a long time. The APC remembers late Kyari as a cerebral Nigerian who excelled in his private dealings, professional endeavours and public service. The statement added, has indeed lost a competent, trusted, loyal, strong right-hand man and long-time advisor who promoted, protected and defended his interest in good times and adversity. The party condoles with Malam Abba Kyari's immediate family, the President, leaders and members of the All Progressives Congress, and the people and governments of Borno State over the painful loss. As Malam Abba Kyari is buried according to Islamic rites, may Almighty Allah be merciful and grant him Al-Jannat Firdaus, the APC prayed. And the Oni of Ife Adeyeye Enitan Ogunwusi Ojaja II has described the death of the Chief of Staff to the President, Abba Kyari, as unfortunate. In a statement from his Director of Media and Public Affairs, Moses Olafare, on Saturday morning, Oni Ogunwusi, the natural father of the Oduduwa race worldwide, described late Kyari as a cool-headed, fine gentleman and great respecter of traditional institutions, who had, until his death, handled his position as a public servant with dignity and dedication, arising from his fervent belief in and his incorruptible patriotism to the Nigerian project. He immediately after the news called the wife and children of the late Chief of Staff on the phone and prayed for the gentle soul of the deceased and the fortitude for the family to bear the irreparable loss. Oni Ogunwusi, co-chairman of the National Council of Traditional Rulers of Nigeria, urged Nigerians to take the ongoing fight against the global coronavirus pandemic more seriously, saying it is a ruthless enemy of humanity that must be collectively defeated. The late Abba Kyari was a Kanuri from Borno, a lawyer and banker. He was an alumnus of both the University of Warwick and University of Cambridge, with a bachelor's degree in sociology from Warwick and a law degree in 1983 from Cambridge. He was called to the Nigerian bar in 1984 after attending the Nigerian Law School. He worked for the law firm Fani Kayode and Sowemimo after law school. From 1988 to 1990, he was editor with the New Africa Holdings Limited, Kaduna. In 1990, he served as a commissioner for forestry and animal resources in Borno State. From 1990 to 1995, Kyari was the secretary to the board of African International Bank Limited, a subsidiary of Bank of Credit and Commerce International. He was also an executive director in charge of management services at the United Bank for Africa. Later, he was appointed the chief executive officer of the bank. In 2002, he was appointed a director of Unilever Nigeria. He also later served on the board of ExxonMobil Nigeria. President Muhammadu Buhari appointed him as his chief of staff when he was elected president in 2015. Now to COVID-19 specifics. As at 10 minutes past 10 p.m. on Friday, April 17th, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, announced 51 new cases of COVID-19 across the country, bringing the number of confirmed cases to 493. Of the 51 new cases, 32 are in Lagos, 6 in Kano, and 5 in Kwara State. The FCT, Oyo, and Katsina states have 2 cases each, while Ekiti and Ogun states have 1 case each. 159 patients have been discharged, with the death toll rising to 17. Now, despite the increasing number of COVID-19 infections, there are also a growing number of cases of Nigerians who have been treated for coronavirus and discharged, with the presidential task force saying these recovery rates indicate that the infection is not a death sentence. 1 month after the inauguration of the task force, its chairman and secretary to the government of the Federation, Boss Mustapha, urges Nigerians to keep faith with the fight against the pandemic as there is more work to be done. Mitaire Ikpeng reports.
17th of March 2020.
Taking stock of Nigeria's fight against coronavirus 1 month after its inauguration, the Presidential Task Force believes its strategy of a single national response has been instrumental to increase national capacity for testing, treatment, and management of the pandemic.
This is a war with a vicious enemy, and our goal is to ultimately flatten the curve. Recent data released by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control has shown a rise in the number of cases in Kano. The Presidential Task Force will visit the state to evaluate the state of readiness and to guide the authorities in the management of the situation.
Infected persons need not hide themselves at home until their condition deteriorates, that they have to be rushed to the hospital in critical state. Some among the fatalities we have had may have been saved if they presented earlier rather than at the last minute.
Our plan is to decentralize testing completely, improve the turnaround times at state levels by 50%.
The task force, however, warns purveyors of fake news and misleading content on social media to refrain from jeopardizing efforts to flatten the curve of the pandemic.
Please listen to the NCDC, listen to the Ministry of Health, listen to the World Health Organization. Don't be misled by anybody.
People that are within states that are under lockdown are strongly advised to stay where they are and to stop moving out of these states.
As the 2-week extension of the restriction order in Abuja, Lagos and Ogun states affords the Nigeria Center for Disease Control time to intensify contact tracing, sample collection and testing for coronavirus, government agencies and private bodies involved in distributing palliatives were advised to stick to the rules of social distancing. In Abuja, Mitaire Ikpeng, NTA News.
We now link up with Joseph Johnson, who is at the Defence House, Abuja. Joseph, just give us the latest of what is occurring around there.
Yes, Dennis, thank you very much. We are at the Defense House where the corpse of the Chief of Staff to President Muhammadu Buhari, Abakari, has just been brought in. A little while ago, we were at the presidential wing of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, where his remains arrived from Lagos. Kyari, who was in his 70s, died after contracting coronavirus. His death was announced by the presidency on Friday, 17 April 2020. Now, while battling the COVID-19 treatment, we understand that the deceased also had underlying health issues, including diabetes. His death has been described as a grim reality of the pandemic, of course, which is currently wrecking lives across the world. I have with me here the SSA to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, to just let him share his thoughts with us on the development. Please join me, sir. How would you describe this development, sir?
Well, it is sad and unfortunate. It's a big loss for the nation. The presidency has lost its rallying point. Mala Abakari was institutional as a person. He held the place together for the president. His loyalty to the president was 100%. Nothing to take away from that. He gave his all to everything. His mind had been all the time on the legacies that President Buhari will leave behind. All this talk about focus on infrastructure. Abakari was spot on all of these things, whether it is the East-West Expressway, the railway lines, the second Niger Bridge, the power projects. Abakari would not stop talking about infrastructure because he had always believed that the legacy President Buhari will leave behind is in those things that he will be leaving behind. And Abakari put everything into the achievement of that.
So would you say that this event is an eye-opener, especially for those who still think that this is more like a fluke, it's not real?
Oh, it's a shock not only to Nigerians, to the entire world, given his proximity to the president and his role in the Nigerian government. So this virus is no respecter of position. Nobody is safe from it. And for God's sake, please allow me also to use this opportunity to announce that this burial, the funeral that will be done shortly from now and the burial that will follow are strictly private. Please, the members of the public are advised to stay and observe the NCDC regulations and those announced by the Federal Ministry of Health. After this event, there will be no ceremonies such as the receiving of condolence messages. No, people must observe existing regulations as put in place by NCDC and the Federal Ministry of Health.
Okay, so what is going to happen here now that the body has been brought in? What are the itinerary?
The wife of the deceased would have a view of him. That's her wish before he's taken away for good, finally. After the wife's prayer for her departing husband, of course, the funeral prayer will be led by an imam. And it will be done in strict observance with the ongoing regulations in the country. And thereafter, he will be taken to Gudu Cemetery, the burial ground for everyone. Nothing spectacular about that place.
So, how would you describe the mood at the moment?
It is sober, as you can see, that this has jolted everyone. Because, there is a sense that if Abakari, who is so placed in a position of privilege, would be taken away by coronavirus, no one is safe from it. So we better watch out.
Okay, so finally, before I let you go, what would be your advice to Nigerians at this time?
Well, advice is that, again, we keep going back to the fact that there are existing restrictions on movement, social distancing, and on the observance of basic rules of hygiene. Nobody should depart from that, because those who depart from that pay the price of coronavirus penalty. So we must have to abide by the rules.
Thank you very much, SSA, to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, who just finished speaking with me now. Of course, he has reiterated the need to have Nigerians observe social distancing and, of course, getting to wash their hands on a regular basis. I have with me here yet another personality to just share his thoughts with us. Can we meet you, sir?
My name is Senator Hadi Sirika, the Minister for Aviation.
So how I can see your mood already speaks for itself. Can you tell me exactly how you feel at the moment?
Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Of course, I feel extremely very sad, but we are thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for life well spent. Mala Abba has died in the service of our country, looking after its fortune and future. He was indeed a man whose total engagement in this government was the betterment of the lives of Nigerian citizens and the health of the nation in general. We shall miss him. Certainly, we will not forget all of those good things that he did in the service of humanity, in particular our country and its people.
Okay, sir. The late Abakari was one of the top-ranking aides of Mr. President. Would you say that the loss will impact greatly on the nation?
Definitely so. He was an anchor of this government. He was involved in all of the critical decisions taken by this government. He has contributed to the coming of this government. He had done his best to the best of his ability. I remember some quotation on his desk that says every job seems so easy if you are not the one doing it. He has taken a lot, swallowed a lot, endured a lot, but all that is not lost because it is in the service of his country and humanity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, you heard it all. Let's just speak to another personality here. So, can we meet you, please?
My name is Jalal Arabi, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management.
It's apparently a sad day for Nigeria. It is. Obviously, your mood speaks to that fact, but just give me a sense of what this means to you.
Well, with all sense of modesty, if you talk about the governance space in this country in the last 4 years or so, the most misunderstood soul was Mala Abba Kyari. You only wished you had come close to him and worked with him to appreciate the patriotic Nigerian he was, whose main interest is the sustainable development of this nation. He was my mentor. He was my boss. Though I had refused till the end to admit what he called me as a friend, he was my friend. He was a confidant. It's a great loss for this country, and it's a great loss for this generation. We pray that God reposes his soul.
All right, so what would be your advice to Nigerians too?
If only we can imbibe what we've learned from people like late Abakari, Nigeria will go places. This was somebody that was detribalized, somebody that was committed to Nigeria as a nation, somebody that believes in the unity of the country, and somebody that believes that Nigerians have capacity to attain the highest goal that any soul can attain in this world. I wish that all will imbibe this culture, all will put the country first, and make sure that the country comes first before any other interest. May his soul rest in peace.
Amen. Thank you very much, sir. All right, just one more person, Dennis. All right, let's get to meet you, sir.
I'm Engineer Mustafa Mehaja, the Director General, National Emergency Management Agency. This is a sad event. This is a sad incident with the death of our colleague. Okay. That's okay. Can you allow? That's okay.
Okay, all right, Dennis, I'm afraid we just have to end the interview at this point because so many activities about to take place now, and that's basically what it is. It's a sad day. It's quite a sad moment for many Nigerians as it is, but it goes further to show that coronavirus is no respecter of persons. So all should, keep watch and properly adhere to all the advices that has been given by the medical experts by keeping social distancing and, of course, regularly washing their hands. Dennis, it's back to you.
For us, we may come back to you shortly. If you just heard me, remain there for us. Joseph will probably come back to you a little later on. Some tributes being pouring in there for later Chief of Staff to Mr. President Abba Kyari. All right, we'll take a break now. The news continues shortly.
Coronavirus, also known as COVID-19, is spreading at an alarming rate all over the globe, including Nigeria. With the number of infected persons in Nigeria increasing daily, prevention is better than cure. Coronavirus has no cure. The virus spreads from one person, who affects two persons, and by the time the affected person is isolated, the two persons have affected four, and it keeps spreading. You must take preventive measures to save yourself and that of the people around you. Always wash your hands with soap and water. Put distance between yourself and others. Whenever you cough or sneeze, cover your mouth. Clean and disinfect surfaces. Stay at home if you're sick and contact the proper authorities. Together, we can cut down the spread of the coronavirus. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest TV network.
Hello, sir. They were pushing us. I wouldn't have started. You're getting live pictures now from the Defense House, where the corpse of the Chief of Staff to President Muhammadu Buhari, Abba Kyari, was brought in just a little while ago. We made to understand that burial rites, of course, is just about to take place. For now, we understand that prayers are to be offered to the deceased. And of course, we already know that Abba Kyari was the top aide to President Buhari and one of the most powerful men in the country. His death is quite a blow to the nation as it is. And of course, you know that the Chief of Staff, that's the Nigerian President's Chief of Staff, Abba Kyari, died after contracting COVID-19. The prayers are about to commence now.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Assalamu alaikum.
The prayers have been offered, and it looks like prayers have just been concluded for the deceased, the Chief of Staff to President Muhammadu Buhari, Abba Kyari. Of course, you know that the deceased had tested positive to the ravaging COVID-19 and had been receiving treatment, but he died on Friday, April 17, 2020. Kyari's death, of course, you already know he was the highest profile death due to the disease in the West African country, which has over 490 confirmed cases and 17 deaths, according to the Nigeria Center for Disease Control. Kyari acted as the gatekeeper to President Buhari. He traveled to Germany in early March with a delegation of other Nigerian officials for meetings with the company. He attended meetings with senior government officials upon his return to Nigeria. We're still getting live pictures from the Defense House. We understand now that the body has just been moved now. And of course, you know, the Kyari in his 70s was the highest profile COVID-19 death in the West African country. The influential technocrat who was reported to have suffered from underlying health issues was seen as one of the dominant figures in the tight-knit group of advisors around President Buhari. Well, he reportedly controlled access to the president, a 77-year-old former military ruler, now in his second term as democratically elected leader, overseeing key meetings and granting audiences. Kyari tested positive for coronavirus in late March after visiting Germany, forcing a string of top Nigerian officials who had been in contact with him to self-quarantine. All right, so I've just confirmed that they've just taken the body now to Gudu Cemetery, where, of course, he will be buried. You're getting live pictures from the Defense House here, where the later Chief of Staff to the President, Abba Kyari, was just being prayed for, and of course the body being taken to Gudu Cemetery. It further underscores the fact that coronavirus is no respecter of personality. So it is widely advised that people should begin to allow the reality to sink in and not allow fake news to, change their perception about the virus. So that's it from here, our Defense House, where we brought you live pictures of the later Chief of Staff to President Muhammadu Buhari. I'm Joseph Johnson. You stay tuned with us as we continue with our programs.
This is the network service of the NTA.
COVID-19, the global pandemic, is here with us, ravaging communities and nations, even those with the most advanced health care. The speed of infection is increasing. In just a few short months, the global economy has been left reeling, supply chains disrupted, millions of jobs lost, and oil prices plummeting as billions are placed under lockdown. Nigeria has 200 million people cramped together and at risk. How can devastation be averted in the continent's most populous country? The federal government, in its bid to contain the virus and avoid the spread, gave the stay-at-home directive, the observance of social distancing, and banning of social gatherings. What has been the level of compliance so far nationwide? That is our focus today on Dateline 360. We thank you for joining us. I am Lydia Ojije Ochi. You're welcome. The interventions announced by the federal and state governments to curb the spread of the coronavirus pandemic includes the stay-at-home order and the demand for social distancing. Obehi Otobo Apresai monitored the compliance level in the Benin metropolis and its effects on the social life of the residents.
This is Ogbazu. It is one of the most popular recreation centers in Benin metropolis, and during the weekends, families gather here to unwind with their loved ones. But with the coronavirus pandemic, especially with confirmed cases in Edo State and neighboring states, the place is devoid of its usual activities. On ground I can only see the animals and a few staff. But I happened to come across the only visitor here at the park today. Is Yengbe Osanyede. When you come here, usually, what is the scene like at the Ogbasu on the weekend?
Yeah, it used to be busy more than this at weekends, but since this coronavirus of a thing came on board, I was surprised. I came here for visit with my children, but the numbers are few. I can say I'm just the only person at the zone now, so I'm scared. I want to go, but I really commend the federal government and the state government for their work, and I commend the citizens for abiding by the law.
Visitors' influx has actually reduced because people are obeying the stay-at-home order. So business-wise, we'll say is a bit slow. We have measures on ground. We ensure that people do sanitize their hands before coming into the zoo. And even while the few ones are coming, on their way out, we equally ensure that they repeat the same procedure.
It is a similar scene at the National Museum at the King's Square. Its doors are shut to visitors till further notice. Social events, such as funerals and weddings, have become quite rare. The only one that held at the Oedo Council Marriage Registry on a Saturday had less than 20 guests in attendance. The groom says it is in compliance with the social distancing directive.
It's because of the situation on ground. Everybody in the country know that the country is somehow, according to Edo State government order, that's why you see everywhere like this.
Religious organizations have also adopted less intimate protocols of worship. Some have understandably resorted to streaming their services online.
The church also, through media and other means, have been able and is still disseminating this message, the message of the federal government, to her parishioners to stay at home for now. Stay at home and pray. Masses are being streamed. I've said my mass this morning. I've prayed for everybody. I've also sent it via social medias. A lot of persons streamed it in St. Paul's. By 12 o'clock, they streamed their masses, and people participate. So for now, we encourage our parishioners to stay at home, and a lot of them, we thank God, have really cooperated.
The government, in their wisdom, they have said that we should try not to engage in any gathering. So that's why we are complying, because engaging in a gathering we bring a situation where many people will not be affected.
However, traffic and human movement are still considerable.
Government say go sit down for us. I get 7 Peking. 1 seed of rice me no get for us. I no get 1 naira. I must come out, find what them go eat.
It will affect the social life of our people, because this is the first time we are seeing this kind of a global pandemic, and for us it calls for a total reflection on how we have been doing and what we intend to do now.
This might be an indication that some people are yet to clearly understand the full gravity of the coronavirus threat and the need to comply with the various directives adopted to check the spread of the scourge.
Thanks, Obehi, for that update from Benin.
The coronavirus, also known as COVID-19, has been declared by the World Health Organization as a global pandemic. While clinical trials are ongoing for a vaccine and a possible cure, there is no known treatment for the coronavirus. Nigeria has recorded some of these cases, and people are advised to take these preventive measures to keep themselves safe and contain the further spread of the virus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water, or use hand sanitizers all the time. Maintain social distancing. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Practice respiratory hygiene. If you have fever, cough, and difficulty breathing, seek medical care early. Do not panic. Stop the spread of unconfirmed news. Follow the official government news outlets and report all cases immediately. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
As coronavirus pandemic keeps rising in Nigeria, in addition to the non-compliance with the stay-at-home and the social distancing directive, the Kaduna State government imposed a dusk to dawn curfew on the entire state to prevent the spread of the disease. Ahmad Umar Kudan monitored the situation in the state for Dateline 360.
The state government says it is not leaving anything to chance as it adopts stringent measures to prevent the disease from taking any root and spread in the state. Part of it was the initial ban on large gatherings, religious services, and business activities in the markets, except those selling food items and drugs.
The United States government has decided to move from advice to actual enforcement of its restrictions on large gatherings, especially in churches and mosques.
It's a good measure. You know, just to contain the coronavirus, at least we have to collaborate with the government.
We have to cooperate with governments, and we have to cooperate with ourselves, because if it happens, it's the people that will suffer it.
As a step further, the state government banned the activities of tricycle operators, while commercial bus operators were directed to observe social distancing.
The government has taken good measures by just putting only 2 passengers in the back seat, the center seat 2 passengers, then in front only 1.
at least by taking such measures, maybe the issue of that virus will go away.
It's for our own good because of the coronavirus that is in the town. So as government decided that they should carry choo-choo to give each person gap, because they told us that if you cough, you can contact it. If you throw saliva, you can contact it. So the way government brought the issue is very good.
Schools, including tertiary institutions across the state, were shut down, while recreational and sporting centers also came under lock and key.
The students have left, and then we have also issued bulletin for officers on grade level 12 and below to stay at home. Only management staff that are available. You can see that the campus is empty.
We have sent out bulletins giving advices to our staff on how they can best maintain social distancing, personal and environmental hygiene, and to desist while they are at home. They should not be roaming around.
All sporting activities globally has been halted. Ahmadu Bello Stadium not exception. In fact, we have ensured our security department. We issued them an order for anybody coming into the stadium to go back to his house as directed by the ministry.
As a result of non-compliance by residents, the state government imposed a 24-hour curfew throughout the state, all in a bid to prevent the spread of the virus.
The sad fact is that there is no consistent and significant adherence to the ban on large gatherings and the closure of shops and markets. There were also reports of certain persons not obeying the ban announced on motorcycles and the keke napep tricycles. Amidst this unfortunate indication that many people are yet to absorb the enormity of the danger that COVID-19 poses to lives, the government pays tribute to all the residents of our state who have complied with public health advice and stayed home.
Markets are deserted, motor parks closed, while major streets are without the usual vehicular movement. Security agents in strategic locations to ensure compliance.
With the announcement on the dusk to dawn curfew, our officers and men are also out there in collaboration with other security agencies to ensure that there is maximum compliance with the directive of the state government.
Kaduna state government says all the measures taken are not meant to add hardship, but to prevent the spread of the virus, as prevention is better than cure.
Ahmad, the curfew is definitely a step in the right direction. Residents of Minna, the Niger State capital, have commended recent measures put in place by government to control the spread of COVID-19 in the state. They are, however, appealing for relaxation of some restrictions to allow them have access to some basic supplies for survival. Dauda Mohammed filed in this report.
Minna, the Niger State capital, has since the commencement of the stay-at-home directive issued by government been deserted during the day. The trend, however, is that since the stay-at-home order starts from 10 o'clock in the morning to 8 at night, most residents of the town rush out in the morning before commencement of the directive to make last-minute purchases.
While a cross-section of residents of Minna, Niger State capital, say they are fully in support of the restriction order put in place by the state government to check the spread of COVID-19, there are some issues that need to be addressed. For example, the rush for petrol. Due to the time of the restriction order that is supposed to start by 10 o'clock, most motorists have besieged most filling stations around the town to get petrol.
The major markets in the town, the Abdulkadir Kure Ultramodern Market, Obasanjo Shopping Complex, and all other business premises have remained under lock, with the exception of banks, where the automated teller machines have remained accessible.
Now, let's imagine this closure of almost all businesses and all kinds of things continue for a whole month. How can we survive? Now there's a need for me to travel today, and that's why I'm back on a journey today.
Okay, sir. People should comply with the government because government directive is very important. DDD is real and it can kill many people. People should stay at home and comply with the government directives. And if people they can use this 2 hours and come out and buy whatever they want. And maybe if they open in the night, they can also utilize that 2 hours. After that, we should keep calm and stay at home.
All my prayers, God will just take this disease away from us.
They are trying in order to curtail this dreaded virus that is killing the whole world. But I want to let them know that there are certain things that are very, very needed, like fuel, like food items. Myself, I trade on food items. People are short of food items, and shops whereby people can buy provision, something of that nature, and drug. They should try to liberate it so that people can get what they need.
At the Federal Secretariat, only organizations on the essential services list were at their offices, though no indication that senior civil servants were at their duty posts. With most residents adhering to the stay-at-home order, a handful of others were seen flouting the order, prompting a response by officers of the Nigerian Police Force.
They should use the enforcement. They should use, because without using enforcement, if they didn't follow the enforcement, in fact, it will be so bad, sir. Let government use the enforcement, force people to stay in the house. That's a very good idea, sir.
I think it's people are really taking it because you can see the road now. There is nobody really moving like that. It's just maybe from house to house, very close to you. So I think people really took the thing serious because they are aware the thing is real.
I want the government to consider, most especially big restaurants in the state. Let the restaurants operate, but to allow all the individual going to restaurant to buy a food, but in takeaway. That is my observation. But I'm still calling on the Nigerite to obey the rules so that we can stay healthy.
While stranded commuters could be seen waiting for vehicles at some strategic spots, some residents were also observed moving about while they advanced reasons for their action. Worship centers around the city all complied with the order stopping mass gathering of people. With all recreational centers and hangouts closed, children on some streets devised means for fun by engaging in a game of street football to pass the time.
Dauda, the restrictions are in place for the greater good of all. Despite government directives to stay at home in its efforts to curb further spread of COVID-19 in the country, there's also a partial compliance in Adamawa State. Simon Asha, who monitored the situation in places of worship, recreational centers, and night hangouts, among other places, reports that the people go about their normal activities, but devoid of the usual hustle and bustle associated with such places.
As COVID-19 pushes the world into lockdown, global struggle to curtail the virus has been put in place by countries of the world to contain its spread in a bid to safeguarding lives of the citizenry. Nigeria is not left out in this regard, as various states of the Federation intensified measures to combat the virus. For instance, in Adamawa State, the government banned any gathering of people more than 50 with regular washing of hands, use of sanitizers, among others, are some of the measures put in place by government to combat the spread of the disease.
The government also advised us to be very careful in interacting with people, not to be too congested in an activity. There's also this social distance order as well. True to the government too, they also gave a standing order by telling all civil servants from levels 1 to 12 to stay at home.
In compliance with this directive, Modibo Adama Central Mosque in Yola South and St. Teresa's Catholic Cathedral in Yola North local government areas of Adamawa State were all locked down with little or no compliance in some of the worship centers across the state capital.
I am happy that our people, especially the congregation of St. Teresa's Cathedral, they are very understanding, because it was not easy at the first instance to tell people not to come to church. Not coming to church during the weekdays was okay, But on Sunday, it's something that was never done before. So they had a lot of issues coming up for that, but we insisted that people should stay at home and pray at home, and they have complied, and we are happy with that.
Government said that a gathering should not be more than 50, and where I'm coming from, we are not up to 40. So that is why our service helped. All glory to God. As a child of God, no disease, like no evil thing can come near me, because I am under His shield, like I'm under God's shield.
Government did not tell us to stay at home, but what they said that we should not gather less than 50. So that's why in my church today, we are not up to that 50, and we have 2 services today.
Beer parlors and recreational centers witnessed low turnout of customers, whereas in Adamawa State Secretariat, civil servants were seen going about their normal office activities.
I'm glad those instructions have been given. I'm happy also the people are getting to comply with it. Not fully yet, but I'm sure we'll get to that point when people know they should comply fully and stay at home.
Observe the stay at home by the government.
Even though no case of coronavirus recorded in Adamawa State, adhering to government directives is key.
The coronavirus, also known as COVID-19, is spreading at an alarming rate all over the globe, including Nigeria. With the number of infected persons in Nigeria increasing daily, prevention is better than cure. Coronavirus has no cure. The virus spreads from one person, who affects 2 persons, and by the time the affected person is isolated, the 2 persons have affected 4, and it keeps spreading. You must take preventive measures to save yourself and that of the people around you. Always wash your hands with soap and water. Put distance between yourself and others. Whenever you cough or sneeze, cover your mouth. Clean and disinfect surfaces. Stay at home if you're sick and contact the proper authorities. Together, we can cut down the spread of the coronavirus. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest TV network.
Following a successful response to Ebola more than 5 years ago, experts say Nigeria is prepared to contain the virus. According to health experts, the most effective measure to contain the spread of coronavirus is for everyone to stay put at home. With millions asked to stay at home, concerns have been raised about fiscal stimulus to cushion the effects on the informal sector, which constitutes a bulk of the country's population. However, experts say it is a time for every Nigerian to be and stay committed in this fight to stop COVID-19 before it overwhelms us. A quote trending on social media, which makes sense, says, "The virus does not move. People move it. We stop moving, the virus stops moving, the virus dies. It's that simple." That's our package today on Dateline 360. Let's stay at home and stop coronavirus. And that's our package this week. We thank you for joining us. I am Lydia ODJ Ochi. See you next week. Goodbye.